All right, everyone, time for our final session of the day. I don't know whether to feel sad or excited, but it's been such a phenomenal day, phenomenal content. But again, we're not done. We've more or less saved the best for last. And again, we've got a phenomenal panel with 5 fantastic speakers that are almost ready to rock and roll for you. Today, there's a whole bunch of online platforms focused on the creator economy, right? And offering creators, whether it's writers, gamers, or sex workers, that's what my notes say. I mean, we are in Amsterdam after all. An opportunity to sort of replicate this wildly successful business model that was originally created by the likes of YouTube. And whether it's Substack or OnlyFans or Twitch, they're just some of the most popular platforms that have really powered the rise of this so-called creator economy. And globally, we now have more than 50 million people who count themselves as content creators. And the creator economy has actually grown to $100 billion+ market. Again, think about that for a second, right? $100 billion+ market in a relatively short space of time. This creator economy, however, remains largely underserved, and despite several new players coming onto the market in recent years, to focus specifically on addressing the financial needs of that creator economy. I am very pleased to welcome the wonderful Money 2020's very own editor-in-chief, Sanjeev Kalita, and our fantastic panelists, Sandra Alzetta of Spotify, Eugene Lee of ChannelMeter, Keily Blair of OnlyFans, and Jeff Nathenson of Whistle. Again, a warm welcome for the guys.
All right. Thank you for that great intro, Jeff. And actually, thank you everyone in the audience for being here. The way I sort of think about this is like, even when we were building Money 2020 10 years ago, I remember putting together like a panel about Bitcoin and crypto and like how that was going to revolutionize so much. And I actually think about this very similarly. I think it's changing a big part of our economy in a very fundamental way. And that's why I think we've got the best speakers in the world that you can have on this panel today. So, and just to sort of set the baseline, the audience here, Money 2020 people might not be experts in the creator economy. So, can we go down the line and talk about, like, for your platform or who you work with, who's a typical creator, and if you can share any metrics or numbers or anything like that, that could also help, give them some sense of that. So maybe if we start from Sandra?
Yeah. So on our platform, actually anybody can be a creator. We typically think of musicians, artists, podcasters, but also, as fans, you can create your own playlists and share them. But maybe for the purpose of this panel, we'll talk about musical artists and podcasters. So just to give an idea of scale, we paid out last year just over $7 billion to rights holders, and by rights holders, I mean labels and your associated organizations. And maybe to help bring that to life, when we look at what that actually means, we had just over 1,000 creators who earned over $1 million. And that's the first time that's happened for us, so we were super pleased to hear that. But I think maybe more interestingly is the other side, where we had 53,000 creators who earned over $10,000. Oh, wow. And that really tells us a number of things. One of them is it's much easier, much quicker now to start actually receiving a paycheck, because 10% of that 53,000 actually had only released their first song 2 years ago. Oh, wow. So yeah, that's where we are from a volume perspective.
Wow, that's great. Jeff?
Whistle is probably the organization that you haven't heard about here. We're a lot smaller than you guys, if we're honest. We work with about 250 of the top creators in the area of sport. And to give you an idea in the context in terms of the size of the creators we work with, the example I point towards is we work with this group called Dude Perfect, and they're out of Dallas, Texas. And their social following is 50x the size of those guys who live down the street from them, which is the Dallas Cowboys, which is the wealthiest sports team in the world right now, even more so than Real Madrid or Barcelona. So just to give you an idea in terms of their overall impact and size and reach, they're 50x the size in terms of on the world's most popular platforms out there.
So OnlyFans, our metrics are always interesting to people. We share some of them, we don't share others. So we don't classify our creators. That's the first thing that is really important to know about our platform. And we're also an incredibly inclusive platform. So we're home to creators who produce music, sports people, comedians, and sexy content as well, which is probably what we're most famous for. What people lose in the mix of that, though, is the OnlyFans revenue model, which is that for every single dollar that OnlyFans makes, creators make 4. And so if you think about that in terms of the size of our platform, since 2016, we've paid out $8 billion to creators. We have 2 million creators, 200 million fans on our platform, and it's growing day by day. We're not seeing that economic slowdown that people are saying in terms of subscription models on our platform, which is really exciting. And we're happy to be here to tell our story, but I'm slightly terrified about the plant stage.
You were saying before that one of your creators has disclosed publicly how much she made this past year. Are you allowed to say that?
We don't typically discuss our creator earnings, like I said, but one of our creators decided to disclose that amount herself. She posted on her Instagram feed that she had earned $50 million last year on our platform. And to be very clear, she was not posting anything sexier than a sexy photo. So that's pretty incredible, and the numbers sort of speak for themselves.
Okay, say that one more time. How much?
50 million. For one, and the nice thing is, it was for one individual. That's a person. That's not a company. It's not a corporate. It's not
Sandra,
an intermediary.
How long has she been on the platform to get to 50?
I actually don't know how long she's been on the platform to get to 50, but I can find that out for you and come back to you. But yeah, it's pretty impressive. But as I said, the most important thing is it's a platform that was created for creators. 1 year. I'm being told reliable information from the front row that it was in 1 year.
Where's my team with information?
Yeah, you guys have my data as well?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, are you on the site?
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. Thanks for having me. My name's Eugene. I am the CEO founder of ChannelMeter. We are the de facto payment stack in this space. In the creator economy, the vast majority of dollars not only come from the platforms, but oftentimes they go through an agency or a management company. Whistle is a great example of that. We provide back office software primarily around payments. To drop some knowledge on the space, this number is incredible. There's a creator this year, like hear me out, there is gonna make, off a YouTuber is gonna make $200 million from a YouTube check. We paid out a creator $100 million last year. Tell me any athlete, celebrity, or musician who makes this type of income. Granted, they're no longer individuals, they have an army of people behind them. But when I say the next Disney is being created on this platform, I actually literally mean it. When you see companies like Moonbug that got acquired for $3 billion, and comparatively, Reese Witherspoon, she has a movie production company, same acquirer for $900 million, it goes to show you the scale. The next 10 million customers of every vendor out here will be some form of a creator or not. They are going to have a dramatic impact to our global GDP, and we're here to share that. Thank you for having me.
And that revenue is just ad revenue that you're seeing. You're
Just
not seeing
ad revenue.
You're not seeing the merch revenue. You're not seeing the sponsorship, brand integration deal.
That's so interesting that it's all ad revenue, because for us, we don't have any ads on OnlyFans. In fact, that's just subscriptions.
Yep.
So it's direct content that our creators are getting paid for, rather than an advertising or engagement model.
Yeah, everywhere else outside China, the dollars that pay to creators, 99% of them, I mean, now this number's staggering, comes from an advertiser. What I love about OnlyFans, and what's so unique, and this is the only platform out there that has broken this, is that it's from fan to creator. And then in Spotify, you have a lot of this too with your subscription side. There's huge power there when you're not reliant on the platform's ad sales team to pay you. And instead, it's your community of fans. Because as a creator, that's your two products. And that's the difference between creators and traditional media. It's not only the content, but it's the relationship and their community that they have with their audience. So the fact that they have creators who are getting paid $50 million, like, holy crap. The banking world should be paying attention to what they're doing here, because huge amounts of dollars are going to be flowing this way.
I hope every single bank here is listening to that. Banking world, please pay attention
They're gonna
to
get
the
left
creator
behind.
economy.
You will get left
Or
behind.
you will get left behind.
If I could just, Eugene, just to echo what you were talking about from an advertising perspective. So our main revenue stream is from premium subscriptions, so recurring payments, that's our bread and butter. But 10% of our revenue comes from advertising. So for any users, you can choose to pay or you can choose to have the free service. We love both. It's part of our flywheel. And we definitely see advertising continuing to grow. It's so powerful.
No doubt about it, and I think it's a great strategy. You know, there's platforms like YouTube who are trying to figure out, like, how do I do not only advertising? How do I get some of the subscription revenue? And they try to prioritize it. By the way, like, people don't know this, but if you were to rank the platforms by payout volume, you don't hear us talking about TikTok or Instagram or Twitch. They're not even in the top 5. Number 2 and 3 is right here.
Definitely not Instagram.
Definitely not Instagram. So,
If it was from Instagram out there, definitely not you. Because you're cheap bastards.
I didn't say that.
I did not say that.
I still want to keep my blue check. No, I'm kidding.
So I actually, a question about that. Like, so for example, TikTok and Instagram might not be like the money places to make money, but they can drive traffic to your sites, can't they? And that's a bit of the dynamic. Is that not the case?
Yeah, but a lot of the problem, yes, absolutely. That's where the audience is. You want to go where the audience is. The people who sponsor these booths, they're going there where the audience is. But however, what happens though is it's an ecosystem where you're allowing people to leave. So people will build their brand, they'll build their content, they'll build their audience, and like, hey guys, check me out over here. Check me out over here. Like, I could probably go through our own data set and I could see how many people are pointing to a Spotify link or how many creators are pointing to an OnlyFans link. And really, that's what they're saying. Like, I want you to see my premium content on the side. And so we're big believers. If you don't pay creators, that relationship is going to end. Absolutely. It's a time basis there.
Yeah.
Could not agree with that more, because the reality is that creators deserve to earn a living from what they do. Like, they deserve to earn a creative living on platforms, and that is what we should be doing, and we should be focused on that, and about empowering communities in that way. I mean, you know, we have, obviously the OnlyFans platform is our most famous offering, but we also have OFTV, which is our free streaming app, which is entirely safe for work content and is available on the App Store. But an example of like the way that we prioritize our creator community is we just today, in fact, I was telling Sandra about it before we came on. One of our creators is a dairy farmer in Jersey. Entirely safe for work content, all cows, all farms, all hay. Yeah. And so we did a reality TV show where 6 OnlyFans creators ditched the like glam look, glam lifestyle and went to shovel shit on a farm. Wow. And so that's being put down, that's just been launched on OFTV now. But again, it's about taking what our creators are doing and amplifying that on OFTV. But again, no ads. So it's a value decision for us that's the model that we follow, and it's always creator first in every business decision.
Okay. Jeff, Sandra, any thoughts?
I think, you know, when we're talking about like, we're looking at the subscription-based services and ad-funded businesses, what I think is interesting is the trend that we're seeing where very much is that e-commerce is the next iteration of what we expect to happen. We see the Shopify integrations within YouTube. We expect to have a Shopify integration with TikTok going forward. And that means that what we find really interesting right now is that in China, it's much more of an e-commerce focus because ad models are not as powerful because CPMs, ERPMs are very, very low there. And I think one of the really important things when we think about the business, the creator ecosphere is that these individuals don't sit on one platform exclusively. They don't just have one source of revenue, but they have many different sources of revenue. Coming from traditional media, as you can see, I'm really old. It used to be very simple. You put your content out there, you collect money either through advertising or subscriptions. These creators are making money in so many different ways that we never imagined possible. And the platforms that find ways of supporting them in a seamless, in terms of transactions, are the ones that are going to succeed and really support what is a growth sector. Because as you said, the next Disney is out there, the Disney, but you won't recognize it because it won't come in the form of a traditional media company. And the way they're going to make money is they're going to sell stuff to you and your kids in ways that you never ever imagined possible. It's as simple as everything from hoodies through to the virtual tip jars to the virtual merchandise. I'm sure you guys are all really excited about NFTs and stuff like that. That's all going to be the bread and butter of this ecosphere that's being created through led by the creators and supported by the platforms that we have up here.
Yeah, I mean, just to emphasize that, our job is really to help creators get closer to their fans, to increase the connection, to increase the engagement, and of course to monetize it. You know, that's ultimately what it's all about. So we've been going through quite an evolution. Hopefully everyone is very familiar with Spotify. We started as a music streaming service. Around about 4 or 5 years ago, we became more of an audio service as we added podcasts as well. And now we're really turning into an audio platform. And what's really top of our mind is to the comments made here. How do we help our creators to have that engagement and to have that monetization? So we've been spending a load of time thinking about that, leaning into it. Things like helping our artists, our musical artists, to decide which listeners they want to promote their music to. They might be the biggest fans, or they actually might be someone that's never listened to them before. So we're making those tools available to them. We're making tools available to them so they can sell merch. People love merchandise.
We all love merch.
Yeah, really, yeah. Tour tickets. And also on the podcasting side, when we started, we made our podcast, and we've got over 4 million on our platform now, part of our subscription service. And that works well, people like that. There are also other podcasters who want to sell their podcast separately. So gated podcasts, we've made that available. That's been proven to be very successful as well. So it's just continually thinking about how can we enhance the experience. And it is all about that connection and engagement. Once you've got that, the monetization can follow. But it is our job to make that easy. It has to be easy for creators to monetize. They want to know they're going to be paid on time. And they want globality as well. And we were talking about this earlier, Kelly. So, actually both our platforms are, I think, very similar in terms of we offer that globality. And maybe just a little number. I spoke earlier about the fact that we've got 53,000 users who last year earned over $10,000 from Spotify. I think it's interesting that over a third of those live in not top 10 music markets. So in the past, it would have been really hard for them to have been able to reach and to monetize. So it's about continually thinking about how do we extend this reach to them.
And actually, just to jump, using that as a bit of a jumping off point, so my sister is a journalist. She used to be managing editor of the LA Times. She used to be in charge of content for CNN Digital. So
Does she need a hug?
So she's actually doing her start. So there are 3 siblings. We're all doing startups right now. So she's got her own startup. My brother has a startup. He actually used to work at Whistle, so I know about the Whistle business through him as well too. So, but going to the journalism model, I sort of feel that's an example of where they clearly did not understand how technology was impacting their business, and their business models really got sort of blown up. And I think from a content perspective, like in terms of how the audience values content, is there anything that you have done that sort of is a bit of a reaction of learning from maybe some missteps there, or even talk about like the business models that you've built?
I mean, I think for OnlyFans, the most important thing is that creators are in control of the content that they create, and they have, as long as they're over 18 and they abide by our terms of service, they have freedom of expression on the platform.
Yeah.
And that means that we get really diverse content from a really diverse range of creators.
Yeah.
But the thing that I always say to people is, and our CEO, Amy, actually articulates this incredibly well when talking to creators who are thinking about joining the platform, is actually that it's not a broadcast model. Like, you can't just take what you're doing somewhere else, plonk it on OnlyFans and go, hey, I'm suddenly going to earn lots of money. You actually, our creators work really, really hard for the money that they make on the platform. And it's the creators who engage authentically, right? We were having this discussion earlier on. It's, you know, being with your fans, not just have the content and step away. It's so different.
We talk community first. You have to think in terms of community. And broadcasters or traditional media doesn't think that way. What is your community? What are they about? What's their core offering? And how do you serve them? And how do you have an interactive one-to-one experience with that audience, the willingness? Having been a failed journalist myself, I can tell you, as a producer, and you know, the presenters hated talking to the audience. They like talking at the audience. And so anyone who's not going to operate in that space with a desire for a dialogue, for a relationship with their audience, should stay away from this space. But then those people are not going to understand what the new audiences are asking of them. I have a very, very serious addiction to Bill Simmons, despite living in London after all these years, a podcaster who does amazing stuff. And his mailbag of having ways of getting the fans' voices into his podcasting is absolutely essential. And so the point being is that don't think about, I'm going to create one thing and broadcast. Think about who's my community and how do I super serve them, because I'm going to make money multiple ways on this as well, beyond just the fact that someone is watching a video.
I can't agree anymore. Community is probably, bar none, the most important thing that a creator can have. My favorite creators are not even the megastars, aren't the Jake Pauls, the Mr. Beasts. My favorite creators are creators who aren't even aspiring for fame. They just have something really interesting and they share it. A great story I love, there's this UK woman who makes dolls, and these dolls are really creepy looking because they look really real. And there's a whole community of them, and they all create content around the dolls. And you're kind of wondering, that's a little bit strange, but underneath it all, with the community, it was a bunch of moms who lost their babies. And this is how they healed and nurtured themselves. And so what I found magical about it was they weren't there to be the next Instagram star. They were there because they had something to say, they had a voice, they had a community, and they wanted to reach that. I love stories like that. And yes, we may talk about these big numbers, and ultimately, at the end of the day, payments is the most important thing overall, getting an earning on that. But overall, the creators, what's magical about them is it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter what skin color you are, what language you speak, none of that stuff matters. How well do you connect with your community, and does your content resonate with them? That's my point.
It's the thing is, the creator economy is an inclusive economy.
Yes.
And that's the amazing thing about it.
Yeah.
My favorite channel, which of course is not tied to anything emotional or important, is actually some of the most despicable people, which are the people who what we call are mammals, middle-aged men in Lycra, the guys who cycle. Global Cycling Network is completely counterintuitive. It's an older audience in a sport that basically is geared that no one watches on television. And yet these guys have created, and now it's owned by Discovery, so we'll see how it works out for them. But basically they created this amazing community around these guys who spend far too much time and far too much money on their bicycles. And basically they have everything going through this, everything from advertising, product placement, to selling merch, all the way to selling a premium service on top of what is their direct-to-consumer social offering. And they have done something that I think is amazing. They identified their community, they super served it, and they are incredibly powerful in this space. And anyone looking to launch a product, anyone looking to get their product out there, anyone looking to reach these incredibly wealthy, affluent people with too much free time and too much money on their hands has to go through Global Cycling Network to talk to them.
Hey, actually, Sandra, when we were talking earlier today, I think one of the comments I made was about how sophisticated, like the financial side of, for example, like a Spotify, OnlyFans, YouTube, how sophisticated from financial perspective are the creators, and even like from a community perspective? If you could start a bit.
Yeah, well, maybe just talking as a merchant.
Yeah.
You know, payments for those is strategic.
Yeah.
everything we do, ultimately, if we want to monetize it, we need to find a way of monetizing it in a way that's efficient and effective. And as I mentioned earlier, we know our needs of our creators from a payments point of view. So from our point of view, it's building up a team of people who really understand what's happening in payments, who are having this conversation maybe, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, certainly 10 years ago. It was all about cards. That's not the case now at all. If we look, globally, just how diverse the markets are, how exciting it is to see what's happening from a payments perspective, and maybe as we're in a payments conference, to talk about that for a few minutes. So we're definitely interested in what's happening in Southeast Asia, in Latin America. Everyone's talking about PIX. There's a reason for that. It's absolutely amazing how quickly that's come from practically nowhere to now being, Brazil's most popular means of payment. And for us, it's just continually thinking through how do our creators want to be paid, how do our consumers want to pay as well. And we're going through quite a big change because we've been a subscription service. So I think we do a pretty good job of recurring payments. It's not perfect. There's always room for improvement, but pretty good. But now we're looking at payouts on a mass market basis and payouts direct to creators, which Keily is extremely, experienced on. It's new for us. So we're getting our heads around that. And we're also looking at, as well as these direct payments, we're looking at marketplace payments where we're facilitating payments from a fan to a creator, where we're not actually holding on to the money, and that's got its own complexities. So that's really what's going through our mind just now, and those are our key challenges, I would say.
It's interesting that you mentioned PIX. That's like top of mind for us as well. So we recently did the same thing. Frankly, again, Brazil's a big market for us, and added a PIX integration in terms of a payment method for us as well in Brazil. And it's always about that for us, because if you cannot pay a creator, we can't operate in that jurisdiction. We can't do that. So for us, it is about enabling those creators to reach that global fan base. You mentioned that earlier on. Globality, it's key to what we do. But it means that a UK creator can have a Japanese fan. And we're just seeing people expand their reach in terms of their audience and the way that they can get their content out there. But you're right, it's hard. I mean, our CFO, Lee, is like the humblest guy in the room, but he built this incredible payments network. And actually with the help of a lot of partners here in the room at Money 2020. And, for us, it's always about partnerships in payment, partnerships in local markets, always innovating, because you can't, without the payment sector, it doesn't work, right? The creator economy is about getting paid.
So true. Something also a lot of people don't know in the space, for the vast majority of the dollars that flow out, they're still USD. YouTube, for every $3 out of $4 they pay out, and they're going to pay $20 billion this year, is still USD to everywhere else in the world. It's unfortunate. And the reason why is they just don't want to deal with that stress. So they're like, I want to pass the problem to you guys. Payouts, and we're in that space. I'd love to hear your opinions, but it's a very, very fragmented area. It's hard. How do you pay somebody in Russia today? There are Russian creators. Some of the biggest creators today are Russian. Well, you know how you do it? We figured out. You send them Amazon gift cards because they can't. There's not a way to send out there. That's still a problem today. It's 2022. But that's one side. And then on the other side, on the receiving end, and this is where I would love to see this space innovate in this area, is creators don't manage finances. This is an area that they don't get. Some of the biggest earners out there, one of our investors is Jake Paul. He's a YouTuber turned boxer, and he told me his first $1 million check, he wished he was smarter about it when he got that. They don't know what taxes are. They don't know what it means to do 1099s or tax forms, insurance, because they're still treated as risky consumers. The banks, the FI, see them as, you're an individual, not realizing, hey, if there was a professional athlete or a musician who walked through their doors, they would bow down to them. But this creator who's out earning that musician or athlete, they're treated as just an individual off the street. That we gotta fix.
I think you're right, but I think you're maybe not giving some of the creators enough credit, frankly, as well too. I mean, we have got some serious hustlers on OnlyFans who are incredible at managing their finances and monetizing their content. But what I would like to see is I would like to see the financial services sector wake up to all of the opportunities that are around providing services to creators. Mortgages, credit cards, building an ecosystem that actually supports creators properly.
And the same way that your platforms have created a way of getting the stuff out there, the banking financial systems have to be the ones that also provide additional services. Creators, for the most part, the ones that I've met and hung out and spent far too much time with, are first and foremost creative people. They're the kind of people who want to tell stories. They naturally go out there and find weird and wonderful things to share with us and get very excited. They are not necessarily, and a lot of them are younger people as well, they are not necessarily astute financially, et cetera, and might not have the experience. They have a strong desire for success, they have a strong desire to be rich, but they don't necessarily know how to get there. The more we can provide services, and services that they can trust because they are so small that they can be taken advantage of readily by people who are less than scrupulous, that it is dependent upon the institutions that we're creating here to really build a place where they can focus on their creative, on their storytelling, on nurturing their community, and knowing that their financials are being looked after in a meaningful way.
I hear you, but I also think that's super patronizing to the creator community in some respects.
I would say, having worked with some of them and seen the financial outcomes of their lives and their decisions they've made, it'd be nice not to be patronizing.
But
well, I mean, if you go in the U.S., the three top finance apps for creators is Cash App and Venmo. I don't think that's out here, but these are PayPal and Square's products. It's not JP Morgan, it's not Citibank, it's two P2P payment apps. That is their current banking stack.
No, that's a great example. And I actually, look, we're sort of at the end of our session, but
it's so much fun.
You know, I feel we could keep on talking.
We're the last one. Is it drinks? Is it happy hour?
Should we just order the drinks and bring them up here?
I'm sorry, we have Spotify and OnlyFans on stage. I mean, come on.
Yeah, this is where the party happens, clearly.
Exactly.
So I guess just to close out, are there any final thoughts that you want to leave the audience with? Eugene, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I mean, the space is good. People talk about Gen Z. Well, there's a much bigger generation after that. It's called Gen Alpha, and they were actually native to the phone. They were native to an iPad. Actually, many of them, that was their babysitter.
Another Gen. We have to deal with another Gen.
That's well, I'm telling you, this is the generation who's growing up there. Their celebrity is not a David Beckham or a sports star. It's someone who they're following because they identify with that. And that person they're following is building a really big business, and they're creating a wake of other people who are going to build really big businesses. Whether from YouTube, OnlyFans, Spotify, there is an enormous economic class that is being generated right now, and you either get in front of it now or you play catch up. Thank you all for your time.
Okay. Keily?
I'd say just the creator economy is not a side hustle. Take it seriously.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I just take a look in terms of your, a lot of you are younger, but some of your children's media consumption patterns, and look at who they're talking about and pay close attention to that. Because my favorite question I always get asked is, people will say to me at a certain point in time, my kid wants to be an esports athlete. What should I do? And my response to that is, well, how good's your kid? And they're like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, well, if your kid was really good at tennis and you didn't know tennis, you'd figure it out. So figure it out. There is a meaningful career path here for young people through creators, through esports, et cetera. And yet the industry poo-poos this stuff. And the funny thing about it is we've been at it for 15 years now.
YouTube's going to turn 18 years old this year.
Sorry?
YouTube's going to turn 18 years old
18
this
years
year.
old, and I've lived every one of those years myself. In dog years. But the point being is, if you don't know what's going on in this space, if you don't understand the financial value, if you don't understand what these people are doing in terms of creating the culture around us, then you will have a blind spot that is enormous, that is going to impact your business in the longer term. And you need to stop and get across it right now, because otherwise someone else is going to come in there.
Last message, but hopefully this panel session has really emphasized the creative economy and is happening. My message is help us, because for us, it is difficult to navigate. We're finding it problematic, so help us to find ways to make those payouts simple as it possibly can be to creators. Keep us obviously always legal, always mindful of regulations, and help us to have a truly global solution, because that makes our lives so much easier.
That's a great point to end on. So once again, I want to thank everyone. Let's have a round of applause for our panel.
Thank you all.